morning. It is my pleasure to have you this morning. This is Brent Harding, hailing out of Boston, Massachusetts. And we are the Wealth Warriors. How is everybody doing this morning? I am reaching out and saying, great morning, Joya Jones. Great morning, Coco Bright. Great morning, Edward Chatterton. Regina Jones. Hope that you feel better as soon as humanly possible. And just want to give the shout outs across the pond to Robbie Abukar. Oh my goodness, to Alice Buka. Pamela Stone. Great morning. Chantel Bethea. Oh my word. And of course, Nellie Rosario, Joyce Swinson, who always beats me in the morning to getting that notice up that says, great morning to you. And shout out to Bob Diesel. Hope you are feeling much better as soon as humanly possible. And to everybody that is on board with us this morning, I want to say great morning. This is October, and what do we discuss in October? We talk about real estate. Why? Because now is such a prime time. Jackie Burgess, yay! I'm sending you some love right now. So we are talking about real estate. Now, we had the pre-conversation in September, and I shared with everybody on September 29th that real estate is your platform. Well, it's kind of interesting because we've had a number of folks who have said, yeah, well, we've got Bitcoin, we've got all of this stuff that is now coming into play. Here's something that is phenomenally powerful, ladies and gentlemen. They ain't making any more real estate, okay? There will be Bitcoins, there will be this, there will be that, there will be the other. Constantly. One thing that never goes away, it doesn't matter where you're at. I'd love to buy some property in Trinidad. The interesting thing about buying over the pond is that the down payment can be really pretty daggone horrendous. So with that being said, good morning, Linda. How are you? With that being said, today for the entire month of October, it is all about the real estate. So we're going to be talking about real estate in our first and second segments. We're going to have some announcements. And then, of course, what are economists saying? And we're going to call it a wrap in about 30 minutes. How's that? So I'm not going to keep you too long, but I want to get some stuff out to you. So let's get this party started with, again, we are talking about real estate as the platform. You are listening to the Wealth Warrior broadcast. We have been at this for 3 years. We have seen some amazing things. People are actually purchasing real estate. People are actually using their real estate to leverage. And that was one of the most pivotal points that I wanted to stress to folks is that when you have real estate, and this is not a real estate broadcast, so don't get me wrong, but what I shared was you need to have a platform. You've got to have a starting point. And the starting point in my mind is going to be real estate. Why? Because you have the ability to leverage it. So here's a perfect example. Now, granted, this happened many years ago, but one of our wealth warriors had property that was purchased, lands that were purchased for her here in Massachusetts. And they were, at the time, you could buy the lots for $1,000. And in this day and age, that $1,000 has actually turned into $200,000 because depending on what area they're in, timing being everything, the family now able to sell that. And I don't disclose who they are because they have asked me not to, but they said I can share the example. Now they are the residual, the leverage is there. They are able to take that and to purchase. And so I'm sharing with you that now is the time for all of you to join, to join real estate investor groups. Now notice I didn't say clubs and clubby. No, you want to join investor groups for whatever city you're in, wherever they are doing free classes. And you know, I don't like the word free, so I'll use the word complimentary, wherever they're doing complimentary classes. But here's the point for all of you. Do not get caught up in the hype. you want to go to the class. Why? Because you're extracting information. And here's something else that's more powerful. Good morning, Joyce Swinson. Good morning. Here's something else that's pretty powerful about the classes is you want to listen for consistency. What do you consistently hear? What is being said? Did you hear it in class one? Did you hear it in class two? In fact, I'm going to submit to you that it is imperative that you attend a minimum of three, three, three different classes, not only seminars, workshop series, and usually what will happen is there'll be one. And then what they'll say, excuse me, is that we're going to have a follow-up, and that's going to be for a weekend. You want to hear the primary, and then you want to go to the follow-up, and you want to take in all of that information and then stop. That's as far as you want to go. You're not spending 5,000, you're not spending 25,000, you're not getting caught up in the excitement, okay? Because you are a long-term investor. You are a long-term investor. You are looking at what's going to be happening over the next 24 to 36 months. And you're saving your money. And you're getting disciplined about saving the money. That's what you're going to do. And when you do that, powerful things will happen. So again, I want to reiterate to you, the word is investment, or the words investment group or investment groups, not clubbies. Why, Brent? Why? I'll tell you about that in segment 2. Want to give some shout outs and some good mornings. Want to say again good morning to Nellie Rosario. Want to say good morning to Joyce Swinson. Want to say good morning to Linda Bounce. I hope I'm saying that correctly, Linda. Want to give some shout outs to some other individuals. Robbie Abukar across the pond. Want to give a shout out to Pamela Stone, who is consistently with me at some point during the broadcast. You know that she has a Wednesday evening talking with Pamela. You've got to be on that broadcast. I am just absolutely enthusiastic about and for Pamela because she was there with me early on. Want to give a shout out to Ed, I'm sorry, I'm having a brain burp there, but I want to give a shout out to Edward Chatterton, a dear colleague. Want to give a shout out to Linda Davis and say great morning, great morning, great morning to you. And thank you for being with me because I know what it's like to get up on Saturday morning. So with that being said, I want to talk one more time about investment groups and want to give you some pointers on the investment groups. And the reason why I'm really focusing in on that for the month of November is because this is a great, the month of October is because it's a great learning curve month. It's before we go into the holidays. There are some that are going to want to be selling property. It is a time when people are enthusiastic because they know that this is it. After this, things kind of die down. Although I will say this, people are actually purchasing property right up till the end because they want the tax benefit. And I'm encouraging you to get clear with the fact that we need to have a base point. Now, I have a base point with real estate. You might have a base point with jewelry. You could have a base point with art. What you want is a base point, and notice the word base point. You want a base point that gives you leverage. So no matter what we're talking about, you've got to have a base point. If you prefer something else, let's say that you prefer art, you prefer paintings. Why? Because those are the things that you actually enjoy. If that in fact is the case, and that's what you prefer, then that's going to be your base point. I have just found that real estate has been a phenomenal base point for me. But if that's your base point and that works for you, awesome, 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 and double awesome. Right now, we're going to talk real estate because they ain't, as I like to say, they ain't making no more earth. So I'm going to encourage you to go up in the URL bar and put in the terms, put in the words real estate investment groups, and look for real estate investment groups that are in your area. The individuals, you'll get to understand and see the newbies, and you know what, no need to be, no need to be embarrassed about the fact that you're a newbie. Let somebody know that you're a newbie. You are there to investigate and listen and to seize opportunities. Opportunities usually start at $5,000. Anybody know why they start at $5,000? I'll share it with you. That is usually the cost that that's the down payment that you will have to place on at an auction. So generally when you go to an auction, it's $5,000. That holds your position, and generally you have 30 days in order to get your financing. So it's going to be critical that you already have financing in place. And let me share something with you about financing. Financing is you've got a pre-approval. Financing is that we're not going to have to go back and put in any other information. So for example, nowadays, every time there is a change to the financing, you need a new CD. What is a CD? It's a closing doc. So you need a new CD. 3 days. You have the lender has up to 3 days to get the disclosure process taken care of. So you're expecting to close on the 27th. Something has changed. New CD, excuse me, you're expected to close on the 30th. You have only till the 27th. Everything must be squared away in order for you to close. Well, if there is a change, that's 3 days. That's 3 days to disclosure. There's a great possibility that you're going to miss the closing date. And here's the deal. Closing has its consequences when we don't do things on time. So I have a question for you. Which is the legal binding agreement? The offer to purchase or the purchase and sales? Now, it may be different countries may do it differently. So in Trinidad, may be different for the United States. I'm talking domestically. Which one is more powerful? I was teaching a class to a group of realtors, real estate sales agents, and there were 17 people in that class. I want to share with you that 14 different answers came through the 17 people. And when they did, I said to now thank you, Linda, I appreciate that. She gave me a response, so I'm going to share that with you. When I gave the answer, I turned to one of the managers there and I said, you have a problem. In actuality, the offer is the legal binding agreement. The offer is the legal binding agreement. The purchase and sales only memorializes the offer. And that is something that I don't know how to describe it, but to say that many people have gotten caught up. And I've seen deposits lost as much as $18,000 lost because a person didn't get that the offer is the binding agreement. You can end up in court because of the offer. That is the binding agreement. What is an agreement? Here's a piece of paper. Okay. An agreement is there are 4 points to the paper. That's the important part. It is the name of the parties. It is a date. It's the name of the parties. It is whatever the material item is that's being purchased. It is the down payment. It is the date of closing and signatures. That is an agreement. So let's try it again. 4 points. Even when it's electronic, it's still 4 points. And so within those is the date that we're engaged in this. It is the name of the parties. It is the property. It is the consideration that the monies. It is the signature, is the closing dates, and it is the signatures that bind you. And so, what oftentimes happens is people rush to sign that and do not realize that that is the item that is going to make or break. So, I'm going to encourage you to understand, please do not sign documents willy-nilly. Do not sign documents that you're not cognizant of. And here's another deal. It may be that, as especially as a newbie, the more you know, but I got to tell you, I hate to say this, I'm almost embarrassed. I actually got caught too. I actually got caught too. Lost a boatload of money. Why? Because I thought the same way. I thought the P&S was the binding agreement. It's not. And so, and it's interesting because that's the difference between understanding as an investor versus understanding in a real estate club. Because in a real estate club, oftentimes we're new, we're figuring things out. Investors know that that piece of paper better say it all. So in that piece of paper, when you are purchasing, it speaks more often than not. It only speaks to the inspection. It's got to speak. You might want it to speak to the inspection. You may want it to speak to the I had this written down and now it's escaping me. But the inspection, the appraisal, the tenants that are still left in the property. In other words, what you're creating is the in clause in the out clause. The in clause is, yes, I want in, I'm staying in. The out clause is, if these things do not happen, I'm out of here and I'm not losing anything. So I share this with you. Your offer to purchase should be about the same length as a purchase and sales agreement, because you can put it into the purchase and sales agreement. And in fact, I am working with somebody right now where they're rushing, they're hurrying to get the P&S signed. No, 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 no. We're putting all of that detail in the offer. The P&S is just a memorializing of the offer. So everything that you want in there. Now, you might not have signed an offer, so in that case, it's all in the P&S. However, you've got to be pretty daggone astute if you're going to leave all the leverage there and not have clarity. This is the time when it makes sense to have a closing agent. It makes sense to have a closing attorney that works for you. That is critical. People say, well, no, I don't want to spend the money. Let me tell you something. You either spend 5,000, you either spend 500 on this side or 5,000 on the other. You spend 1,000 on this side or 10,000 on the other. And let me share this, correcting the problem. That is a job. Correcting the problem is a significant job. You do not want to be in that space or place. Wow. I hope you got some nuggets out of that one. Woo! Okay, let's talk about announcements. If you are in the Massachusetts area, you want to join me for the Small Biz Buffet that is occurring in the month of October. Go up to Eventbrite. That's right, go up to Eventbrite. There are multiple dates for that one. I'm going to be speaking at this month's event. So go up to Eventbrite and get registered. I'll also put it in the feed as well, the Wealth Warrior feed. Second, the event of events is happening. We are having a mix and mingle. Brent is back. It's a mix and mingle on November 13th. That is a Tuesday starting at 6:30 p.m. And it is going to be at the Freedom House in Roxbury, the newly made over $10 million worth of makeover of the Freedom House. It is a beautiful location, glass windows and the like. So want you to be there. So again, you want to go up to Eventbrite for the Small Biz Buffet. That is going to be hosted by Rogeria Toussaint, and I am the co-host and speaker this month. I will be talking about a very timely subject matter, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. You're going to have to go up there and see for yourself. I can tell you about what's happening on the 13th, and it is being hosted by Brent Harding, co-hosted by Wilbur Brown from TRS, and it's going to be from 6:30 to 8:30, and it's really focused in on entrepreneurs, wannabe entrepreneurs, small business owners, and people with resources. Want to bring all of us together and celebrate 2018, all the great things that have happened, and get prepared for 2019. And I'm doing it ahead of everybody else. How is that? Okay, with that being said, what are economists saying? I will share this with you. Economists are in line with Brent Harding's thinking, and that is that they are talking about grouping. And what do I mean by grouping? Working with other folks, not going the road alone. However, they are speaking to researching, and they're speaking to binding agreements. So what does that mean? That means that if you are going to go into an investment together, that you've got to have your attorney, he's or she's got to have his or her attorney. You have to have things in writing. And you've got to do your research. What are you going into and for? That means if one of you is supposed to be researching places that you might want to make investments, which means that you have gone down and seen where people are pulling, where general contractors are pulling permits. If you've gone down to see where they are pulling permits, and you're making decisions predicated on that, that you have done your homework. And a lot of times, you know what, it is a challenge to do everything yourself. But I will share this with you. While my partner is doing something, I am going behind the scenes to verify what's been done. When it comes to money, we cannot play. When it comes to money, the agreements need to be signed, and cash and agreements are practically going hand in hand. And oftentimes we're doing things electronically. So you've got to be very mindful and careful of how things are done. But I will say that economists are right in line with Brent Harding. They are speaking to collaborations, they are speaking to working together, they are still speaking to real estate, because it is a baseline. It is one of the few things that appreciates quickly, so that you are able to pull cash out and go to the next deal. Here's a here's a really important nugget. Do not get lost in the hype. If you have not been doing real estate investing for a minimum of 5 years, you are a newbie. And even those that are not, that are seasoned, have gotten caught. So 5 years before you break out from the newbie class into the newly seasoned. It can be done. It is exciting. However, do not get lost in the hype. Do your homework. You will you will be on point when you do your homework, so that you can be about the business of creating wealth and leaving a legacy. So what have we talked about this morning? We have talked about, and we'll be talking about for the rest of this month, about real estate, leveraging our real estate. We leverage so that we can accumulate quickly. Real estate is probably one of the quickest accumulators. However, there are other accumulators. You might be well versed in art. And if you are well versed in art, then fantastic. You know that network. If it's jewelry is your passion, and gold or silver or precious stones are your passion, and you feel that there is a great accumulator, because right now what I'm talking about are the great accumulators that you will then be able to utilize to create the legacy, create the wealth that ergo creates the legacy. So you are looking for entities and avenues that will cause you to get there. Once you've identified or made a decision about what you're going to use, your next step is to connect with groups that have the word investor in them. And notice I didn't say club, I said groups. Now, groups have expectations. They expect that either you shut up or you're in the game. What does that mean? That means that you're either listening or you are participating, but you're in the game. Uh, from there, we're going to talk next week about being in the game. In the meantime, I made some announcements. I'm going to be speaking at the October Small Biz Buffet event. By the way, they have awesome hors d'oeuvres. We will be at the Royal East, which is in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and it's complimentary buffet food, and it is delicious chicken wings. Oh! I will be speaking, and I'm not going to tell you, you'll have to be there to hear what I'm speaking about. November 13th will be my signature event. It is Mixing and Mingling. Brent is back. It's going to be co-hosted by Wilbur Brown from TRS. We are going to have massive fun. If you are an entrepreneur, a small business owner, wannabe entrepreneur, or a person that has resources, we want you to be with us. It is all about celebrating 2018, getting prepped for 2019, meeting decision makers that can help us navigate quickly to get to the contract, an executed contract, 4 points that makes the agreement. So that is going to be happening on November 13th, and definitely want to have you with us and with me. With that being said, we are going to call it a wrap. By the way, after the November 13th event, the broadcasts are going to be changing monumentally. There will be some videos on the Wealth Warrior broadcast that will tell you what is going to be happening, and that will be the Saturday directly after the November 13th event. In the meantime, today, go out and be absolutely extraordinary. And I'll see you next week. Bye.